Well, good morning. Hope everyone's having a good Tuesday so far. My name is Steve Ramirez. Welcome to my inner circle, covering Southern California sports. And I thought I would do a recap of the weekend among the 4 area football teams. I guess we'll get started. Let's first talk about UCLA. Bruins improved to 4-0 with a open Pac-12 play with a 45-17 victory over Colorado, as was expected. This Colorado team, arguably one of the worst FBS teams in the country. So UCLA did what they were expected. I think they were favored by 24 points, and they won pretty convincingly. They were in the first half. They were able to move the ball at will, and did that for part of the second half until they started subbing in players when the game got out of hand. I think it was 45-10 at one point. UCLA had 515 total yards. They did give up 309 to a team that had averaged only 10 points a game in their first 3 games. So that is a concern. Game plan by Colorado was to take what the defense was giving them, just getting 3 or 4 yards at a time. And there were times where UCLA had trouble getting off the field. Not so much on the yardage, but they had some defensive penalties, and so that would be a concern moving forward. But offensively, UCLA, like I said before the year, the offense was going to be good. The offense led the conference in scoring last year, and all signs pointed to that type of offense this year. And so far, they've lived up to that billing. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 5th-year quarterback, threw for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had 7 rushes for 56 yards. So and running back Zach Charbonnet, who had played sparingly in recent weeks, didn't even play 2 weeks ago. He looks his usual self. He's considered one of the top running backs on the West Coast, and he ran the ball very well, 9 times for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Had 2 big runs for touchdowns. Showed his cutback ability, which is kind of the thing with Zach, is that he's able to cut back with using his vision, and that's why he's highly regarded. Like I said, the defense, that's probably the biggest concern coming out of the game, and the fact that the Colorado offense hasn't done a lot, and they were able to move the ball at times with a freshman quarterback. So moving forward, UCLA hosts 4-0 Washington at the Rose Bowl on Friday. Washington's ranked number 18. Not a lot was expected of them going into the year because of a new coaching staff, and they were very average last year. But they've had 2 impressive wins in back-to-back weeks to push them up to number 18 in the country. They defeated Michigan State 39-28 and Stanford 40-22 last weekend. This is basically up to this point in the season, UCLA has done what they've expected to do, to go 4-0 against teams that they should win. The game 2 weeks ago against South Alabama was close, so it's really hard to get a gauge on how good UCLA is going to be. We're going to find out on Friday, because this is a very good Washington team who should be able to match UCLA point for point. I'm going to give a slight edge. I think the Bruins might pull the upset here. Just the fact they're at home. This is also, it might be Washington's toughest opponent, at least offensively. So it's kind of, I think it's kind of a pick'em game. I think Washington is about a 2 or 3 point favorite, but if I had to make a pick, it would be UCLA. I think their offense is going to keep them in the game, and the last 2 years they've been really decent at home. Moving on to USC, Trojans up to number 6 in the rankings in the AP top 25 after improving to 4-0 with a 17-14 come from behind victory at Oregon State. This was USC's toughest game to date. Oregon State seemed to kind of figure out USC on how to slow down USC. USC's previous 3 wins, they've been able to basically score at will, and they still haven't yet to commit a turnover. But very, very low scoring game. No one predicted that, but Oregon State had a really good game plan for them offensively. We'll see whether that's a blueprint or not. I'm not sure. Oregon State has really good personnel in the secondary, and sometimes when you try to use someone else's game plan and you don't have the personnel to do it, it just doesn't work. So we'll see how that is moving forward. Quarterback Caleb Williams had his worst game of the season. He had been throwing for about a 72% clip, and he was 16 of 36 for 180 yards and a touchdown. But that was a game-winning touchdown with about 4.5 minutes left. Or I should say with 1.5 minutes left. They fell behind with 4.5 minutes left and then drove down to take the lead with about a minute and change on a touchdown to Jordan Addison, who had been kept in check for most of the night. Only had 3 receptions for 42 yards. Oregon State did a really good job on him, and they were able to pressure Williams, but his athleticism got him out of trouble. But he still had a rough night. Like I said, whether that's the blueprint, I'm not sure. I know it's not going to be the blueprint this week because USC is hosting Arizona State on Saturday. I think we're going to see the USC team that we saw the previous 3 weeks. Arizona State is kind of in flux right now with the dismissal of Coach Herm Edwards a couple weeks ago, or after a loss 2 weeks ago, and I think USC is gonna win this one pretty big. Moving on to the professional ranks, the Rams improved to 2-1 with a workmanlike 2012 win over the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Quarterback Matthew Stafford threw for 249 yards. Didn't have a touchdown pass. He moved the team at times. Cooper Kupp had a very average game, below his average really. He had 4 receptions for 44 yards, but he did have a rushing touchdown. And we saw Cam Akers, running back Cam Akers, kind of stepped up. He had been kind of missing, so to speak, the first 2 weeks of the season, but he did have a decent game, rushing for 61 yards and a touchdown. But he did have a key fumble at the goal line where the Rams looking like they were going to put the game away, and then they had to stop the Cardinals on a drive to end the game. Or they gave up a field goal. Sorry about that. They gave up a field goal, then recovered the onside kick to win the game. I really liked the way that the Ram defense played. They did not give up a touchdown. Gave up just four field goals. They did a good job of basically surrounding Kyler Murray so he wouldn't be able to get off any runs from the pocket. They kept him in the pocket, and they did a good with the Rams with their shell type of defense. Didn't allow anything deep downfield, and basically gave the Cardinals were able to drive on them, but once they got close to the goal line, got within the red zone or just outside the red zone, they were able to stop their drives. So I thought it was a good win for the Rams. Anytime you can beat a division opponent on the road, that's a good win. Moving on, the Rams are back on the road. They play at the 49ers. 49ers are 1-2. That game is on Monday night. And the 49ers are coming off an 11-10 loss in Denver. Jimmy Garoppolo had a faux pas with a safety when he stepped over the end line. But we'll see how he's been really good for the 49ers since becoming a starter with them. And then with the injury to Trey Lance, he's back at starter. So we'll see how that goes. That's a tough game to pick. It's kind of a pick-em game, I think, and probably going to give credit to the 49ers, say they win this game. Originally, I had picked the Rams to win this game, but I was thinking Trey Lance was still learning, and now that he's out and Jimmy G is in there, the veteran, I think I'm going to just give a slight edge to the 49ers with them being at home. But I think it's a game the Rams can certainly win. Moving on to the Chargers, which was kind of the shocking score of the weekend, losing to Jacksonville 38-10 to fall to 1-2. Justin Herbert, who's been nursing a rib injury, threw for 297 yards in a TD, but the Chargers were only able to rush for 26 yards. And in the NFL, it's a passing league, but you still have to be able to run the football, and you got to run for more than 26 yards. And the defense gave up over 400 yards. Trevor Lawrence really looked like the All-American, the Heisman winner that he had become, throwing for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns. You could see what the difference in coaching now that Doug Peterson is down there. Peterson's one of the top coaches for quarterbacks in the league, and you're seeing that sign. I wouldn't be surprised if they challenge for the division title, but we'll see how that goes. Next up for the Chargers, they're at the Texans, who are 0-2-1, losing the last 2 weeks after opening the season with a tie against the Colts. Question is how Herbert is feeling. He did have a good game last week, but we'll see how you would think he would be improved, but we'll see how that goes. But I think it's still a game the Chargers should win. And just comment on the Dodgers season is kind of winding down. They've already clinched the National League West and the top seed in the National League playoffs. Should wrap up the best record in baseball, which will be good if they advance to the World Series. They play they're in San Diego tonight, and then come home for a 6-game series to end the season against the Colorado Rockies. So it's kind of an exciting time for the baseball playoffs. So, are just around the corner. So that's my thoughts on the weekend, and some predictions moving forward for the coming weekend. So Hope you enjoyed this video.